Peace to everybody. This is about Barry upgraded to Category 1 hurricane as it nears landfall off of Louisiana. And as you can see in the picture, here's what the wave is like when the hurricane is touching the waters and that. Tropical Storm Barry was upgraded to a Category 1 hurricane as it inched closer to the Louisiana coast on Saturday morning with maximum sustained winds of 75 miles per hour, officials said. Yeah, so the Tropical Storm Barry went from that to a Category 1 hurricane, and of course the winds were 75 miles per hour. The National Weather Service said that as of 11 a.m., the storm was moving northwest toward Morgan City, Louisiana, at about 6 miles per hour and bringing it with dangerous storm surge and heavy winds to the region. And so this is what the Weather Service is saying, that the storm was moving northwest towards Morgan City, Louisiana. So, people need to get out immediately, find shelter, do something. With the majority of the thunderstorms and rain on the southern side of the storm and still offshore, the heaviest rain will still be moving onshore the rest of today and tomorrow. Fox News meteorologist Brandon Noriega said Saturday. So the flooding threat is not over, especially across central Louisiana. So the threat is not over yet. So there's still a possibility that it's going to get hit with Hurricane Barry, but it all depends on which way it's going to move. And of course, the heaviest rain will still be moving onshore for the rest of today and tomorrow. He said earlier that inland across the Mississippi River Valley, forecasters expect to see rain and flooding for some days after the storm. Isolated tornadoes are also possible across the region into Sunday. So there's going to be possible tornadoes on top of it. You think the hurricane is something now. There is also a possible 50-50 chance of tornadoes coming. And of course, as you can see here in the picture, this is what the Hurricane Barry did over here. Hurricane Barry is expected to make landfall near Marsh Island before making its way onto the mainland. The storm was expected to inflict the most damage on Louisiana and parts of Mississippi, with wind and rain affecting more than 3 million people. So it's expected to make landfall near Marsh Island, and of course it's going to affect 3 million people on top of it. The storm is expected to inflict the most damage on Louisiana and parts of Mississippi. Some Louisiana parishes around Morgan City were reporting more than half their customers without electricity around daybreak Saturday. So half of the people down there in Morgan City, they don't have electric at all, and it's not going to be possible to get the electric back on until after all this passes. More than 50,000 people in southern Louisiana had lost power, and some roads were underwater as the edges of the storm lashed Louisiana and coastal Mississippi and Alabama with rain. So there's 50,000 people in another part of Louisiana that do not have power at all. And of course, the roads were underwater, so it's not a good idea to try and drive through the water because your car is going to be pretty wet inside if you do. In the coastal community of Isle de Jean Charles, the U.S. Coast Guard successfully rescued 12 people trapped after raising waters cut off access. So there was a Coast Guard that rescued 12 people. after the rising waters. And as you can see here in the picture, two guys are boarding up the windows to prepare for the hurricane. I don't know how long that's going to hold up for, but that's what they're doing. On again, off again, rain hit New Orleans overnight as day broke. The streets in the normally raucous French Quarter tourist district were largely empty and barely damp. Dog walkers and a street sweeper rambled by. It was breezy, but flags on balconies overhanging the empty streets still occasionally fell limp. A few cars were out on roads. Some nearby homes had piled sandbags outside their doors. And so it was on and off again rain that hit New Orleans overnight. It was in the French Quarters. Tourist district were largely empty, so there was nobody in those French Quarters at all. And of course, the flags on balconies overhanging the empty streets are still occasionally felt limp. So that's all I did. And here is the screenshot of the hurricane or what it's doing. So far, it's been really nice. It's been cool. It's been a little breezy, said Wayne Wilkerson, some kind of name, out with his dog in the French Quarter. He welcomed the pre-storm respite from July's normally sweltering heat, but said he was mindful that things could change. I know we have to be on the alert. Yeah, of course, New Orleans, the French Quarters, you've got to be on alert at all times. You've got to take precautions. Pack things what you need and get out. Go to another state. Go somewhere far away from these hurricanes. Baton Rouge, which is devastated by floods in 2016, was similarly quiet Saturday, with puddles left from overnight rains, wind shaking the trees, and only a few cars and trucks on thoroughfare Interstate 10. In Alabama, rain pounded the eastern shore of Mobile Bay overnight, with scattered power outages in communities, including Daphne along Interstate 10. So Baton Rouge was devastated by floods in 2016, and of course right now it's quiet in Baton Rouge with puddles left over from overnight rains. That's all I had. It doesn't say how damaging it is right now or anything. And of course, Alabama, rain pounded the eastern shore of Mobile Bay overnight with power outages that are scattered everywhere. I do believe this is the guy in the picture that is keeping updates with everything that is going on. I am not sure. It's powerful and strengthening, and water is going to be a big issue. National Hurricane Center Director Ken Graham warned. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of water issues going on. No matter, it's going to be hard to get bottled water. You don't even want to stay in your house for water, because if hurricanes are coming, everything's going to get destroyed no matter what. Hurricane Katrina caused catastrophic flooding in New Orleans in 2005 and was blamed for more than 1,800 deaths in Louisiana and other states by some estimates. So that is 2005 and was blamed for more than 1,800 deaths by Hurricane Katrina. In Katrina's aftermath, the Army Corps of Engineers began a multi-billion-dollar hurricane protection system that isn't complete. The work included repairs and improvements to some 350 miles of levees and more than 70 pump stations that are used to remove floodwaters. So how are you got the Army Corps of Engineers beginning multi-billion-dollar hurricane protection? So did it ever go through? We don't know. There was 350 miles of levees and more than 70 pump stations. The pump stations, I guess, is where you pump out the water out of the homes or something. I don't know. President Trump has already declared a state of emergency for Louisiana, authorizing federal disaster relief efforts, and about 10,000 people in Plaquemines Parish on Louisiana's low-lying southeastern tip were ordered to evacuate it on Thursday. Yeah, so that part of Louisiana, they were ordered to evacuate. Everybody had to get out. They only had to take what they needed and leave. They were not allowed to stay there at all. And here's a screenshot of the leaves blowing from Hurricane Barry. New Orleans is particularly vulnerable to flooding because of its low elevation. Only about half the city is above sea level, a drop from what was 100% according to the Atlantic, which cited human activity as a primary reason for the drop. So New Orleans is particularly vulnerable to flooding, and they were used to it, and of course it's on a low elevation of the water level, so only about half the city is above sea level. So you pretty much have your low levels, then you have your high levels of where the flooding can go to. And of course, here's a screenshot of the sky. It's cloudy over Lake Pontchartrain. As you can see, what the flooding has done. It left some in the grass and everything. Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards warned that the storm's impact, coupled with the already high Mississippi River, which has been swelled by heavy rains and snow melt upriver this spring, could be a dangerous combination. Yeah, so it's a dangerous combination of snow melt, river this spring, and of course the heavy rains that come with it. There are 3 ways that Louisiana can flood: storm surge, high rivers, and rain. Edwards says we're going to have all 3. So yes, they're going to have all 3 of these things that are going to come at them. The high rivers, rain, and of course storm surge. And it's very powerful what this can do to Louisiana. So if you are in the path of Hurricane Barry, just please get out while you can. Just move to another state somewhere until this is over. Leave your comments. I am out.